Players are drawn into the varied, sprawling worlds of MMOs for different reasons. For some, it's the lure of PvP and the opportunity to measure up against other players. Others the chance to explore and game with a guild or a group of friends, or just the pull of the story, the narrative, and the lore of the world they're drawn to. Hello, we're the Bullet Sponges, and today we're going to be taking a look at the lore surrounding the experience of Guild Wars 2 and the rich narrative that the game provides in order to engage you in the goings-on of the Guild Wars universe. As always, if you want to join us for more co-op and multiplayer related content, feel free to subscribe, like, and comment. Or if you want to show your support and help us to make even more content, you can now become an official channel member by clicking the join button under the video.
The story of Guild Wars 2 takes place in the world of Tyria, a world that has confusingly been given the same name as the world's largest continent. Tyria the planet is a planet in a universe much like our own, with its own sun, its own moon, and even neighbouring planets in the same solar system. There are even stories detailing that some of these planets have been visited by the inhabitants of Tyria with the use of powerful magic. Magic itself is key to this story, and a natural part of the world you'll find yourself in. The state of the world at any given time is linked directly to the amount of magic present at that time. Too little and parts of the world begin to crumble. Too much and there's a risk of catastrophic events. The role of the Elder Dragons, to which your journey as a player is strongly bound, is to keep the balance of magic. Though unfortunately the ways in which they do this is often complete desolation. Not only is magic woven into the world around it, it's also stitched into the fabric of every living thing, and every living thing has some innate ability to access it. In Guild Wars 2, every playable race will have classes that can learn to wield magic as a weapon. The story you'll play through begins all the way back at the end of Guild Wars 1. Back to the time of the Eye of the North expansion. 250 years before the events of Guild Wars 2 begin to unravel. Here, hundreds of years prior, the heroes of the original Guild Wars game defeat the Great Destroyer. And in the years leading up to Guild Wars 2, 5 Elder Dragons begin to wake from their long sleep, rising up to wreak havoc and destruction on the inhabitants of Tyria, who up until that point had been enjoying a relative peace. Elder Dragons in Tyria lie dormant for thousands of years, and while these massive creatures sleep, they slowly absorb the magics of the world around them. This process continues until they have built up enough residual magic to awaken, rising to the surface to lay waste to the world around them, lowering the magical state and returning the world to balance. After this process, they go back to their long, deep hibernation, and the cycle begins again. To the north, the ice dragon Jormag has decimated the area, with some reports telling of mountains being torn down so violently that oceans and lakes took their place. To the east, an Elder Dragon awoke and began to fly south. In its wake, a great valley of crystal formed, gouged into the earth, now called the Brand. Further changes came to the south, where the once ruined and sunken ruins of Ore have now been pulled from the seabed and surfaced by Zaitan, the dragon of the undead who now rules over the area. These global changes to safety and security brought on by the dragons came alongside a change to the inhabitants themselves. Where the previous dominant race in Tyria was humans, they've now been met with a number of varied races which have appeared for a number of different reasons. The humans themselves inhabit an area known as Crater, a lush area of farmland, woodland, hills and streams. Their capital is known as Divinity's Reach, located in the north of Crater, and built after the destruction of the original capital of Lion's Arch, which was lost to the tides of the ocean, but later rebuilt by pirates. The Char are a race of beast-like industrial creatures, and they've been in conflict with the humans for hundreds and hundreds of years, a conflict which eventually they won, and which formed a part of the original Guild Wars game set 250 years prior. In the time of Guild Wars 2, the Char have taken back their ancestral home of Ascalon, now scattered with the ruins of human settlements. The Char have inhabited the surrounding areas, and despite infighting, assassinations, power struggles, and a fragile alliance between the 3 major legions of Iron, Ash and Blood, they've set up their capital called the Black Citadel right on top of the ruined human capital. The Norn of the North, who value personal strength, individual victory, personal responsibility, and earthly spirituality have been forced south into the Shiver Peak Mountains by the Elder Dragon of Ice, Jormag. The Shiver Peaks are known for their high mountainous peaks, heavy snows, and cold, hard environments. The area runs between the Char's home of Asalon and the human region of Kryta, and while the Norn are a widely nomadic people, they have formed a stationary capital in the Shiver Peaks known as Holbrak, which serves as a meeting place, resting place, and home for any one of the large nomadic people that needs it. The scientific and advanced Asura have risen in the west of the Tarnished coast, a dense jungle area. These small-statured Asura moved above ground from their deep homes after a long hard battle against the minions of the Elder Dragons, deep below the surface of Tyria, fighting side by side with the dwarves. However, they were eventually forced out with the rise of the dragon Primordus. Among the trees and plants of the Tarnished coast, the Asura have made their advanced city of Ratasum, where they form collective groups of individuals that work towards common goals. These collective groups are called crews. In the same area among the dense vegetation of the Tarnished coast, the Silvari were born. 250 years ago, a human soldier named Ronan stumbled upon a strange seed during his travels. He picked the seed up and tucked it away to give to his daughter as a gift when he returned home. However, upon returning home to his family, he found that his village had been destroyed. In his grief, he planted the strange seed on the grave of his family. 250 years later, the seed is now a huge tree, and from this tree the Silvari were born, the newest addition to the races of Tyria, being just 25 years old. Around the large pale tree that gave them life, they have made their capital city called the Grove. In these 250 years that have passed, there have been more changes than just dragons and races. Changes in both culture and politics have made their mark on the map. Scientific advances are written into the design of the world's weapons, settlements, armor, and technology. For example, players can fast travel with the use of Asura gates. The fighters of the world have access to firearms, and engineers make use of a number of different gadgets and gear to help them defeat their enemies and stay alive. And those of you familiar with Guild Wars 1 might be wondering what happened to the other continents in the centuries between the first and second game. The Dragon Empire of Cantha, inspired by Asian culture and tradition, has self-isolated under the politics of intolerance and the dislike of outsiders. And these narrow-minded practices, combined with the location of the continent being far to the south and across a vast ocean, means that it has effectively been cut off from the continent of Tyria. Ilona, the land of the Golden Sun, inspired by African culture, has been all but cut off from the outside world, partly due to a wasteland called the Desolation forming a barrier between the two continents, and partly because an undead lich has conquered the majority of the habitable landmass. The only contact Tyria really has with Ilona is intermittent reports on its comings and goings from the spies of the Order of Whispers. With all of these changes, the world of Tyria has become a very different place. The difference between races that for so long have caused conflict and struggle are being overcome in the face of a new common enemy. The need for cooperation, shared loss, and the danger of the Elder Dragons. And in these difficult times, there are new stories being told, and stories to be written, battles to be fought, people to be saved, armies to raise, and secrets to be uncovered. And all of this is exactly where you come in. As a player, you enter the world as a fresh-faced explorer, tasked with gathering the members of Destiny's Edge. Destiny's Edge was once a renowned guild famous for their efforts in fighting the forces of the Elder Dragons and preventing the destruction of their world. However, this guild of multiracial adventurers can no longer see past their differences and are fractured and split due to infighting. Your task is to gather the once great order together, help them overcome their grievances, and join them as they once again fight to end the destruction and corruption of the Elder Dragons. More specifically, and to start with, the Elder Dragon named Zaitan, the Undead. After you've defeated the Undead Elder Dragon, you then begin on the path through the seasons of the living world, taking you through a number of different storylines, fights, and ultimately putting you face to face with more of the destructive forces of the dragons. And for those stories, you'll have to play the game for yourself.
A lot has happened in Tyria since the times of Guild Wars 1. New races were discovered and looming threats increased to an unimaginable scale. These threats are large enough to unite heroes from across Tyria through a story that you and I take centre stage for. Currently, this is through 5 compelling Living World seasons that span across the core game and 2 expansions, Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire, and soon to be 3rd End of Dragons. To supplement this, there are 3 novels, each telling a fantastic story in their own right, further filling in details leading to and presently in Guild Wars 2 itself. Let us know if you're interested in exploring the lore again in more depth. If you enjoyed the video and fancy leaving us a like, feel free to do so, and to keep up with more content from us, hitting the sub button will help you do just that. We're the Bullet Sponges, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.